Well, good morning, everybody. How are we doing? It is Sunday. Happy Sunday, everybody. 0 XG conceded, 0 shots, and obviously 0 shots on target. Pretty impressive from the Whites as we head into the top two pending the game today. Obviously, Burnley in action at 3 o'clock against Millwall away from home. So let's hope they can do a job for us. Before we get into the video, everybody, going to have to ask you that question. Can you like the video? Really appreciate that. Subscribing always to the One Leeds fan channel, and yeah, getting your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know your 3 things. After this, we're immediately heading on over to Patreon to record a Generation Leeds. If you fancy a bit of bonus content, you know what to do, everybody. Link in the description below. We're sponsored by IPM Group UK. All of your surveillance, security, and CCTV needs with Rick and the gang. Make sure you keep it in the Leeds United community as you can as well with football prizes. We have a massive prize over there, everybody. Jack and the gang, all big Leeds fans, make sure you get involved. Hospitality tickets and all that sort of stuff in a lovely little bundle for a £3.99 entry, I think it is this week. But how are we doing, everybody? Listen, I'm going to be getting into the 3 things almost immediately here. I can see some of the regulars in the building as well. Morning, Connor. Great win yesterday. Easy win yesterday. Looked like a kickabout. Morning, Connor. Hello, Widowmaker. Hope you're all good. Morning, all. Hey, Rich. How's it going? We should have won by a greater margin. Plymouth were so poor. Wishing everybody a happy Sunday, says John B. Hi, John. And Danny's in the building as well. Morning, Connor. Hope you're well. All good, my friend. All good. So, as you guys know, we do the 3 things every single Sunday, pretty much every single time Leeds United play. It's normally the day afterwards. I recoup. I have a little bit of a watch of the game again. And I come together with some thoughts of which maybe you haven't thought of. And you guys let me know as well some thoughts that maybe I haven't thought of as well in the comment section, which is a great little vibe between us all. So, straight off the bat, I'm going to start with, should we start with a bit more of a hyper analysis of something? Yes, I am. I'm going to start with Willie Gnonto. So I think we need to see a bit more, I think we need to see a bit more. Me and Gabe were talking about this, and the performance yesterday, I thought there was so many standout footballers, but we hold Willie Gnonto, maybe, I certainly do, to a higher expectation because of how good he is. And we all know that he's arguably the best player in the division. I think we need to see more from him, guys. And it's not a negative to start off the video, but it's very much a, yeah, okay, maybe something that we've not spoken about on the channel because we're used to giving him praise a lot. But I would say maybe the last 3, 4, maybe even 5 games, I'm looking at Willie and thinking, I need more from you this season, mate, because we'd penciled you in. And I have to be honest, I said at the start of the season to Gabe, I said, look, he needs to really be getting maybe 15 goals. 13 to 15 goals in this division with the standard of the division. And you look at what we faced yesterday in Plymouth, in probably the worst side I've seen at Ellen Road. And he didn't really muster anything up, whilst we had a lot of other players on the pitch yesterday who did really well and profited from us being up against a weaker side. And we're able to add numbers to their game. We're able to, be profitable against a weaker side, as just mentioned. So I think what I'm looking at from him is a little bit more. You look at his goals this season, you look at his assists this season, and we just need to see, I think, a little bit more of a step up. A little bit more of a step up from him. I think, I need to be seeing, a goal in 3 or 2 goals in 4, assists on the regular with his talent. And yesterday, I guess I was just a little bit disappointed by the level he put out. And I think it's really important to say that, because with us complimenting Willie Gnonto all the time like we do on this channel, you guys know he's one of my favorites. I love him. But at the same time, Willie, look, mate, I can't be batting for you all the time if you're not putting up the numbers. You need to start backing it up. So, yeah, for me, it's interesting, but maybe we need to see a little bit more from Willie Gnonto in these type of games. And just in general, this guy should be lighting up this division. We should be seeing Somerville numbers really from Willie Gnonto. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Smarty's in the building. Morning, mate. Joel says the midfield was excellent yesterday. So understated how nice it's to see crossfield balls over the top, making the most of our wide players. Yeah, mate, 100%. Paul's in the building as well. Hello, mate. Reece says the only thing we need more of Gnonto is end product. Surprised he has only goals so far. And do you know what it is, mate? It's the one-on-ones. I think it was against Watford in particular, where he had like 3 chances where he just dropped his shoulder, went on his right-hand side. 1 was against the side net and 2 was straight down the goalkeeper's throat. And remember when he went through yesterday? The ball was just played between the centre back and the left back. And I honestly, guys, I was sat on the watch on and I had no confidence. I had no confidence that he was going to go through and put the ball in the back of the net. I didn't even get up at the watch along like that. I was very sort of just back on my chair, really, and that's unusual, because he's an excitable player, or he gets me excited, Willie Gnonto. I think he's one of the stars in this side, but there needs to be more output from him. And I'm being honest, yesterday I was really disappointed with his performance. So it's those 1v1s that he needs to get right in my head. I think a lot of his build-up play is really good. I think him creating space, I think him inverting, I think him taking on a man's good. But I think I mentioned it yesterday, when he's going on the flank and every single ball he's putting into the box is not beating the first man when he's running onto it, that's got to improve. When he's through on goal, his one-on-one capability or his ability to finish, when he's going through on goal, it's got to be better with how good he is at striking a ball. I don't know what it is. Maybe he needs to get his head up a little bit more when he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper. But yeah, I think that just drastically needs to improve from him. It's an interesting point, I feel. Morning, Connor. Hey, Paul. Mark says, morning, bang on, Connor. See this often. He has a good game and lots get carried away. Say he's class. Great players play well every week, especially in the Championship against some very poor players. Do you know what, Mark? I think I'm very much on the, if you see a player, right? You see a player and you go, yeah, well, he's very decent. Technically, you can just tell, can't you? You can just tell when you watch a player. If you've ever played the game as well, you watch him on a football pitch and you look at him and you go, oh, yeah. He's a nice player. He's a good player, this lad. Remember seeing it with Tanaka. Straight away, you go, yeah. First 3 or 4 touches, yeah. Player. Absolute player. And I've always said the same thing with Willie Gnonto. You look at him and you think, yeah, good player. But there's only a certain level I can get to with that. I need to start seeing Somerville numbers with him, And a lot of people say, oh, it's Somerville. We'll replicate that this season. What Somerville did last season was damage on the Championship. We need to start seeing that from our so-called best player. And I think if you're comparing the two, when Ramazani's been in, Ramazani's backed it up with numbers. He's backed it up with numbers. And that's why there's a real conversation now to who maybe technically, ability-wise, is the best Leeds United player, offensively in that front four. But yeah, interesting. Morning, Connor. Let's have a look. I've seen a lot of Sheffield United posts saying this is why Sheffield United are the best team in the league when they went and second and won 2-0. I just laughed to myself. Let's have a look. Gnonto, so you all want him out the side now. Who's your replacement? Nobody said that, Michael. Not one person has said they want him out the side. We're just talking about the game, mate. There doesn't need to be this. It doesn't need to be so black and white, mate. There is grey involved in the world. Willie Gnonto just needs to step up a little bit. That's it. And I think that's a fair point from everyone in the chat and myself, to be honest. I think that's a fair point. Nobody is saying get him out the side. That's not what we're saying. So number 2, everyone, I'd just like to, bringing it back round, not to so much of the analysis per se, but really impressed with, I have to say, the midfield duo. It's just such a joy to watch. It's such an absolute privilege to watch Rothwell and Tanaka. Online, Rothwell wasn't getting as many plaudits as Tanaka yesterday, which, yeah, I do find really interesting with Leeds fans. I have to say this. I thought Rothwell was better than Tanaka yesterday, but all I saw online was Tanaka. And it's fair enough. It's fair enough. We're just blessed that we've got them both. But just the tempo, the coolness under pressure, just never ruffled. And we mentioned this yesterday on the post-match stream about how against every single competition they've come up against now, from Sunderland to Sheffield United to Norwich, who are going well. I know they struggled yesterday, but they are going well. And then sort of the middling teams, your Bristol Cities, obviously we saw them yesterday as well, didn't we? But we've seen them together for a while now. And they're looking really good against every single type of side, every single type of midfield. I thought, as I mentioned yesterday, probably against Watford when they went to a 3 in midfield. I thought that's maybe the only time you saw them a little bit flustered in the second half. But they weren't really flustered, I don't think. I think Leeds just maybe lost a little bit of control of that and didn't take the chances in the first half. But I think just watching them together is an absolute joy. They're just fantastic. They understand when to go. They understand when not to go. They understand when to play the perfect through ball or crossfield ball, as was just mentioned there. And we've said that the tactical element of being able to vary your play and play crossfield balls is massive, because you then become completely unpredictable. What's Joe Rothwell going to do as a midfield competitor up against Joe Rothwell or Al Tanaka? What do I do? Do I go press him? Do I go press his first touch or not? Because he's going to play that crossfield ball, and I need to just slip in to that defensive midfield spot to cover up that inverted run from the winger. You know, what do I do? Do I go or do I sit? There's such a midfield conversation with the opposition when you're coming up against Tanaka and Rothwell, because you don't know what they're going to do. And that is so important with a midfield combination. It's so important not to be predictable, which there was an argument we were beforehand, in my opinion. Darren Maddox says, an okay performance against a very poor Plymouth side. I'm not convinced with this manager. Should be going better with this team. Like the t-shirt, Connor, is it a Montaigne one? Rothwell was totally on it with Tanaka alongside him. What difference would Ampadu make? I don't want it. Yeah, mate, it's just a Rab t-shirt, to be fair. Chris Walker says, Tanaka made the game look easy. Rolls Royce of a player. Spraying balls. Fantastic from Rothwell. Evening, Connor. Hey, Dave. Was that the game? His build-up play and all-round game was solid. He's unbelievably strong for a guy at his side. Who's that about, mate? Who's that about? Tanaka stood out yesterday, especially in the ground. He was everywhere. Makes it look easy. There you go, Jason. It's fair point, mate. It's a fair point. Like, in the ground, it's always a little bit different, isn't it? And I always say that as well, mate. I think, when you're in the ground and you've seen just those little bits of movement, because the camera doesn't track every single player, obviously. So you don't really see that level of movement. And yeah, Tanaka, the beautiful thing about them all, for me, when it looks at Rothwell and Tanaka, they never hide. So when they've been up against it at Sunderland, when they've been up against it at Norwich, not a lot of people talk about that Norwich game, So Tanaka and Rothwell are a partnership within 49 minutes. So 49 minutes onwards, we're up against it as well. Norwich were playing well in that first half. Obviously, they got the early goal. Grev went down, and then you saw the partnership of Tanaka and Rothwell. They just seamlessly got into that game, and Leeds then started to dominate the midfield. People forget that Norwich game was so key. Leeds coming back into the game, and it only really turned when obviously the gaffer took off Gnonto and Ramazani. But yeah, Connor, do you think Solomon will be sent back in January? Sam says Gnonto. Connor, I was referring to me. Oh, fair enough, Sam. Yeah, I didn't think he was great yesterday. I have to be honest. Solomon. Flipping heck. Yeah, it's a conversation, isn't it, mate? I mentioned it on the post-match, and obviously this is sort of the three things, but I mentioned it on the post-match. I think there's a conversation there with that one. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had. And you probably think I'm being a bit Geneva here and sitting on the fence, but I don't know. I'm just not. I just need to see more from him. I need to see more from him, as we need to see more from Gnonto. I wanted to talk about Brendan Aaronson as well. Brendan was really good yesterday. And he's got his goal, looked elated as well. It's a really good finish with his weaker foot, good interpretation, perception. And what I saw with Brendan yesterday was he was just everywhere. He was absolutely everywhere. When the winger had the ball, who'd be making the run? With all respect to him, it wasn't Peru running into that channel. It's Aaronson, okay? Running into that channel on the right, on the left. He's in attacking midfield positions. He's in the defensive third at points, picking up the ball and trying to drive forward. He was everywhere yesterday, absolutely everywhere, and he deserved his goal. And for me, he was one of Leeds' best players yesterday. Best players. I thought he was a constant problem, a constant thorn in Plymouth's arse, because they just couldn't pick him up. They couldn't pick him up. And the beauty about the double pivot as well is, I've said to you guys before, the midfield don't know whether or not to stand off and help with the cover when it comes to the midfield, or press Tanaka and Rothwell. What does that do inadvertently? Makes space and time for someone like Brendan Aaronson. There was a moment in the first half where he got the ball in a lovely position. It's the first time Leeds really broke through that sort of like low block. He had it on his back foot, opened his body, lovely touch. And then unfortunately, he ran into a little bit of trouble, and he sort of played a pass. He tried to play a pass through to Pro, and it's a really bad ball. And it really annoyed me, because it's like, come on, Brendan. Come on. When you're in those spaces, mate, you need to start being a little bit more profitable. We need to start seeing you being a beneficiary to the side in that position. Because I always think, to be fair, with Willie Gnonto in that central space, or even with your man or Solomons, I feel that technical ability is maybe with those two as opposed to Brendan Aaronson. But I think Aaronson just gives you so much when he's playing like that. When he's off it, he's more of a hindrance. But when he was on it yesterday, really good. I thought really impressive. Morning, Connor pal. First time catching it live in a while. Great first half, and wish we had pushed for another couple of goals in the second half for the goal difference, but a dominant win overall. I'd agree with that, my friend. I'd agree with that. Morning, mate. Hope you're doing well. All good, Mark. All good. Tanaka does fine at this level, and that's what counts at this moment. But this is the level. Lack of pace and strength suggests nothing more. Vision is fine. Thomas says, who is coming back from injury? Do we know? Do we rush original starting players back into the starting 11? Mark says, Aaronson, not his biggest fan, but the work rate and closing down is second to none. Closing down is great, which causes more from opposition players. Mr. Anthrop says he's made a huge difference, Aaronson. He's linking things nicely. Yeah, I think with him, he has his on and off games, doesn't he, with Aaronson? And it's the inconsistency. And I think everybody, with the level of quality that we have, the depth that we have, I don't like excuses. I don't like it. And this all comes back down to me, to expectation. And this is why I come on and probably get a little bit more vexed at, I get football subjective, but I can passionately disagree with individuals, and I do. But I do get a little bit irritated by the standards of this side dropping. And it all does come down to the depth as well that we have. You know, we're struggling at the minute when it comes to depth, really. But we've still got Manor Solomon on the bench, Max Verber on the bench, Gilavoggi on the bench. You know, what other team has that? What other team has that? You know, and when you're looking at the bench, you're looking at Matteo Joseph coming off the bench as well, who, by the way, is being dubbed by other fans as one of the top 5 strikers in the division. I was looking at a post the other day, and it was on Twitter, and it was like, who are the best 5 strikers in the championship? He's not even playing, and he's in most people's lists. Matteo Joseph. So it's crazy, really. So this is what we've got on the bench. So this is why I'm a little bit more critical, because I feel I hold Leeds to a higher standard. And that higher standard is because the board, you know, the manager, and obviously the recruitment and the investment in the squad is extremely high. We have one of the most expensive squads in championship history. We have the highest budget in the division, even with the 3 relegated sides. So for me, the expectation should be high. The standards should be high. 5 draws so far, even though we're in second place right now, isn't good enough. You know, we need to be turning that into 3 draws. The options that we have, I don't feel your Sunderlands, your Burnleys, your Sheffield Uniteds, any other team in this division have those options. And I think that is why we should always hold our team to the greater standard. I always feel that. And yeah, that's sometimes I think what gets lost. And, oh, we're unlucky today. Well, we shouldn't be unlucky. We shouldn't be unlucky with what we have, you know. And it's all about the manager, in my opinion, trying to get the best out of those players. And if those players aren't good enough, guess what? You bring another international on, or you bring a player on who's got 10 years worth of experience for Wolfsburg and has played in the Champions League and European competitions, and as captain in his international side. You know what I mean? This is what we're looking at right now. So for me, on this channel, these standards never drop, and we should be beating your Bristol Cities. We should be beating Sunderland. We should be beating Norwich. So this is what I'm saying. I know football's not always played on paper, everyone, but for the majority of it, it really is. The most successful teams are the ones that spend the most money. Okay, let's have a look at what you guys are saying. Why is Joseph back on the bench? Yeah, there's a question there. True Connor says, Mark, morning, 1 Leeds as well. True Connor, but those players have to do the business. Gnonto, great example. If they don't do their jobs, points will drop. Connor, why doesn't Schmidt ever get minutes, especially in the positions he can play? Yeah, and Denise says it's not how much money you spend, it's how you spend it. Yeah, Denise, do you think we've spent it well? Let us know. But yeah, I think that is true when it comes to Schmidt. It's interesting because yeah, you do wonder if he's just not on it. There's so many, we just don't know. Is he on it? Does the manager like him? Is another question. But there's been 2 options now to rotate. You've had Bogle and Firpo, of which have been suspended. And you've had a real opportunity now to put Schmidt in. He hasn't done it, and he didn't bring him on ahead of Crew. Schmidt's played centrally before. Could have put him centre midfield just to get Schmidt some minutes. 24 years of age, by the way. And he also brought Chambers on ahead of Schmidt. Penny for his thoughts. It's very interesting. So thoughts on the team's progress as well. I wanted to discuss. I know this is elongating the 3 things a little bit, but thoughts on the team's progress at the minute. I think we're ticking on nicely. I think it's now 7 wins, 5 draws, and we're in the top 2. Who can complain? Well, because of those expectations, guys, it's not about being miserable, negative, or pessimistic or cynical. It's not all. Leeds were brilliant yesterday, really good, and what more can you ask for? Just a bit of consistency across the board now. Let's go on a run. Let's do what we did last season, and it's 2 points per game. As I said prior this game, we were on 1 point. I think it was 1.991. So technically not quite on 2 points per game, which gets you in the top two, obviously. So those standards, look, keep those standards. Let's improve it even more. And let's go next week and let's win the game. And let's have the expectation to win the game. And after the game, if we've not won the game, we turn around and go, well, that's not good enough because of this, of the quality of this team. So yeah, I'm very happy with what's going on at this moment in time. We're looking at Burnley. I believe Burnley will beat Millwall today. I think that's going to happen. I think it could be quite a convincing one, really. I've not been that impressed with Millwall this season. But we've just got to keep on trucking, haven't we? But we've got to just start, just meandering into that top two. But the beautiful thing is, Sunderland dropped points yesterday. Is that a discussion of things to come? They've been able to rotate well, I feel, Sunderland. But I tell you what, everybody, there's some tough fixtures coming up for the Black Cats very, very soon. I believe they've got Sheffield United coming up as well. They've got a lot of tough games, I think, in the 6 to 8. So that's something to keep an eye on. Whereas Leeds right now, we've got a good run of form. Got to keep an eye on Burnley as well because they've got a good run of form as well. But it's interesting, very, very interesting coming up. Special like button, everybody. Yeah, really appreciate that, everybody. If you could all, there's nearly 500 of you in the building here. If you could just make sure you slap a like on the video, that would be great for me. Just helps me out. Rothwell has been ace, he has indeed. With Leeds, it's all about consistency, and that's our downfall. Denise, I think that's right. I think, but I won't say it's our downfall because we're in the top two right now. But we'll just have a quick look at these results. Okay, so Leeds' results. Okay, so I mean, they were terrible, weren't they? Absolutely terrible, has to be said. At Plymouth yesterday, but this is the thing: we expect to beat Plymouth, don't we? So I'm happy. It was a brilliant performance. Do you know what the standard was? 0 XG, 0 shots from Wayne Rooney's side. Couldn't have told you that beforehand. I really couldn't. That's very impressive from Leeds. Control from the back to the front. No opportunities, nothing. I think they made a few changes yesterday. I know Randall wasn't there, was he? Sissoko wasn't there. It's two of their better players. I don't know if Randall's been playing, actually, but he's one of their better players. But yeah, interesting to see. But the standard that we set was very, very good yesterday, it has to be said. But Sunderland 2-2. Sheffield United 2-0. Forms of the season. Watford 2-1, war of attrition, but got it done. Bristol City 0-0, 3-0. So in there, you've got 2 draws and 3 wins, which is very symptomatic of Leeds' season, isn't it? But you can't win every game. But the standard when we have Millwall, QPR, Swansea, Luton, Blackburn, Derby coming up, everybody, then it goes a little bit tougher. Middlesbrough's going to be a tough game. We know that. Middlesbrough's going to be a tough game. They're looking really good. But the 6 games we've got coming up, guys, it's wins. It's win, 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 win. And if we can start to see 4 wins and 2 draws, 5 wins and a draw, that's the next step right now for Daniel Farke's side. We don't want to be putting in draws against Norwich, obviously a draw against Portsmouth right at the start of the season. Sunderland, we should have won the game if it wasn't for a mistake. But Bristol City last week, there's no excuse for that last week still, in my opinion. So look, we've got some good fixtures coming up, and this is where Leeds should be utilising the squad and just ultimately winning these games because we're more than good enough. I don't have excuses when the team's this good. When the team has had this amount of money spent on it, I get we can have off days. Completely understand that, of course, but I want to iron out that consistency now, and I think that's fair enough. Okay. Yeah, Don James in the building, not quite Dan James, saying, I wouldn't read too much into yesterday's game. Plymouth were absolutely shockingly bad. And that's true. That is true. You have got to look at the opposition that we played yesterday. I think from me, the fresh perspective looking at it is that we broke down a low block. They came with a low block, and it did take a worldie from Dan James to unlock that. But that's sometimes what it takes. It's these marginal gains. We seem to do everything from open play. We don't have that set piece quality really consistently, which means that the marginal gain is going to come from that. But the open play is so good with what we have that we can't really complain, guys. We can't really complain, in my opinion, about that. Shame not to see Joseph starting, but as long as Pro keeps getting on the score sheet, Joseph will have regimental 20 minutes, and that's it, mate. It's tough, isn't it? It's tough to judge him. Joseph, you guys all know my thoughts. Aaronson puts himself right back in the picture with the performance yesterday, but I would have gone with Peru. and Joseph yesterday. Look, yeah, there's no point in going on about Joseph, and it's nice that we've got a balance between the two. I still don't rate Perot's game. I just don't. But he got the goal yesterday, which will mean that he starts, and I think his record's pretty decent this season. I think he's got like 5 goals and 2 or 3 assists, which is decent right now. It's very, very good. You can't take him out, and we're being extremely picky, aren't we? But we've got a lot of depth and a lot of really good options on the bench. But guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to waffle on too much because we've got the instant match reaction where I waffled on for 40 minutes. We've got Patreon bits as well, which we're going to go over there now and film a podcast. Really appreciate it. We've asked the patrons what they thought, and we're going to go and ask those questions over there and on the WhatsApp group as well. Everyone's getting the thoughts in over there. It's been an absolute pleasure. Before you leave, everyone, please like, comment, and subscribe. As I say, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comment section, even after this video, what your 3 things are and what your thoughts. A bit of extended bits as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're going to be back with the counterpoint tomorrow on the channel. We've got the debrief as well tomorrow on the channel. And then listen, we are heading to Tampa Bay, everybody. Yeah, we're heading to Tampa Bay. I'm heading to America for 9 to 10 days. We're meeting up with the Tampa Bay Whites, which I'm buzzing to do. We're going to do the watch along for the QPR game. We're going to be heading over and doing content for you guys in Miami and Tampa Bay for 10 days, everybody. Still keeping up with your vlogs, still keeping up with your rumor mills, but I'm really excited to do this. And hopefully it's an investment in the channel. But hopefully you guys really enjoy it. And hopefully I'll see some of you guys out there as well. So it's been an absolute pleasure, everybody. Thanks so much. And I'll see you soon. Cheers.